What's up, guys? Welcome to Sparring Session, where myself and Paulie Malignaggi battle wits and a little history about boxing with our esteemed judge, ref, ringside reporter, sometimes trainer, likes to whisper in our ears, George Jakovic. George, take it away.
All right, Chris. Thanks for the introduction. Welcome to Sparring Session. And Chris,
I just want you to know he's never called you esteemed before. I'm just letting you know that he's doing it on purpose.
I've also never had to intro sparring sessions from this position, so I'm just.
But any other intros, you've never been esteemed prior to today. Just want you to
normally I just
want you to catch on to it.
George, should I say esteemed plus two-time Emmy Award winner? Or should I just lay it on extra thick?
Wow, Chris, I like your style, Chris. I like your style. But Paulie is the defending champ. He defended his title the last show. And guys, this is very important to come out swinging because now we've got 4 topics instead of 5. We do these shows quick. Like we're all from the New York, New Jersey area. Remember WINS, the AM station? 22 minutes, you give us the world.
Yeah, that was 10-10 wins.
10-10
we
wins.
do these shows in 24 minutes. So we got 4 topics, guys. The first one, Amazon Prime has announced their March 30th card. We're going to talk about that. Romero against Pitbull Cruz is another topic. Fantasy fight, and I'll let you know what it is. It's Sugar Ray Leonard against Bud Crawford. And finally, the most bizarre night in boxing is our 4th topic. So I want to go back to the last sparring session. Chris Algieri was very uncharacteristically upset. He was throwing paper. He was acting very Paulie-like. Chris called me, he apologized. We hashed things out. And Chris did a very nice thing. He sent me a copy of his book, and I believe we have a picture of it. Chris is a renowned author. His book is called So You Want to Be a Fighter. Chris, I just want you to know, Paulie, I don't know if you're looking at this picture, but if we can get a close-up of the title, So You Want to Be a Fighter. Paulie's in that too. But it was a very good gift. Paulie, I don't know if you saw that picture.
I was extending the olive branch.
Is this some sort of bribe that I'm sensing here? I mean, what are we doing over here? It's some sort of bribe.
Bribing doesn't happen in boxing. We all know that.
No, look at it. Look what's in there.
Yeah, it's a copy of my book.
With a bribe.
George, whatever he wants to do after he receives the book is up to him. If that's what he wants to use as his piggy bank, that's fine. I have no issues with that picture.
Yeah, of course you wouldn't. Yeah.
It was a
little something besides the book. I see. Okay.
It was very much appreciated. But listen,
George, that was me extending the olive branch. I got a little heated at the end of the last debate.
You know what?
I threw some paper at the producers.
You did. You know what? By the way, speaking of the last debate, my esteemed friend and colleague Tommy Rainone hit me up. The guy that we're eventually going to see with the locks of the week. At some point, but
the esteemed betting insight
locksmith. But he hit me up, and you know what, George, we messed up the last week with when it came to Jake's and the Snake Rodriguez. I said that Charles Murray was a journeyman. I had a mistake for somebody else. Charles Murray was not a journeyman. He was the natural. He only had 1 loss, and he was a 20-1 favorite over Jake Rodriguez.
Oh, wow. And there you go.
Tommy knows everything about Jake.
Dropping some knowledge.
So he said, you blew it because you didn't correct me, and I blew it for mentioning it that way.
Well, we both blew it. But you're still the champ, Paulie.
Yeah, and you blew it because you gave him the round.
But it was a 20-1 round. It was a 20-1 underdog, so it confirms that Jake was the right pick.
Let's get down to business. We got 4 rounds. Paulie, you're the defending champ, so you can start or defer to Chris.
I'm going to defer to Chris.
All right, Chris Algieri, you are going to start. Round 1, it's been announced. March 30th.
Kicking or sticking, I'm kicking.
March 30th card, it's been announced. It's been a crazy last 24 hours. But you got Tszyu is facing off with Keith Thurman. Yes, Keith Thurman and Romero is facing off with Issac Cruz. So the question is that a good or bad Amazon Prime debut? Chris, you are starting. Ring the bell, round 1.
Well, highly anticipated. We've all been waiting for what the announcement is going to be. We're trying to hear what the layout for the Amazon Prime deal is going to look like in terms of the schedule. And in terms of this fight, me personally, I like the fight. But in terms of the rollout for the Prime Amazon deal, I don't think it's a great card, especially if it's a pay-per-view, which we don't know yet if it is. I would assume it probably is. In which case, I think a lot of people are going to have a lot of backlash involving it. I will as well. I like Tszyu Thurman. You got Tszyu, I think, is up and coming and is a fantastic fighter. He's going to be around for a while. He's fighting a name guy in Thurman, which is why Thurman got there. But I do like also that the WBO is not sanctioning this fight as a title fight because Thurman hasn't been fighting at 54, hasn't been fighting in general. So they did a good thing there. But I think hardcore boxing guys are going to be okay with the main event. They want to see that fight. I want to see that fight. But in terms of for their first rollout for the beginning of the year and they're announcing it this late and it's a pay-per-view, that's a hard pill to swallow.
Right.
You know, Tszyu is an ascending guy. Thurman hasn't fought in 2 years, 2 different weight classes, a non-title fight. If this is a pay-per-view, this is a hard one to sell for a pay-per-view. Tszyu is a big star in Australia, but his star is still growing in the U.S. I don't know that he can carry a headliner as a pay-per-view, if this is indeed a pay-per-view. Him to be a headliner for a pay-per-view in the United States against a guy who hasn't fought in 2 years. A guy who hasn't named, but he hasn't really done a lot lately. And I don't know if that his own star hasn't gone down a little bit in Keith Thurman. Rolly versus Cruz is a solid co-main event. I love it. I think it's a very good fight. I'll tell you what, bro. If this was going to be a pay-per-view, then for me, Prime is blown it. The main event to start things out should have been Gervonta Davis versus Frank Martin, and the co-main event, I wouldn't have a problem with Rolly versus Cruz. Okay, you have two guys, all 4 fighters around the same weight. You could kind of start nitpicking at hey, maybe the winner can go up and wait and fight this guy, the loser go down and wait and fight that guy. You can start to create other matchups based on that. But this main event, I'm not so sure that it goes for a launch. You know, I know they want to build Tszyu star, but it's not the way you're going to do it on pay-per-view when he's not known in the U.S.
6 months from now, depending if things go the way that I would expect with Tszyu, it would make more sense for him being a main event. But I have to agree. I mean, if he was the co-main with a Gervonta Davis fight, absolutely, that would make a lot of sense. You want to hit with a splash, especially with something brand new, the way that this is on a streaming network. This is a huge deal. Everyone highly anticipated. And then they come out. You know, it's like building like a lion and coming out like a lamb. That's not a good look. And especially after the year that PBC put on in terms of their Showtime cards, this hurts.
And again, Rolly versus Cruz is a solid fight. I think it's a good fight. I think it's a great chance for Cruz to win a world championship because he's usually used as an opponent. This time he's got a legitimate 50-50 shot. Rolly's a good fighter. I think he's underestimated as a champion. I think there's a solid, entertaining matchup. It's going to be a fun fight between two guys who can punch and are a little bit limited in some ways, so their styles are going to clash together. Tszyu versus Thurman is a fun fight to a degree, but can you sell it? A guy who hasn't fought in 2 years, big name. Tim Tszyu is a big name, but he's going to be a bigger name later. He can't headline American pay-per-views.
Pretty easy round to score. You guys were both on the same page. It's a 10-10 round, and I agree
but I
with
need the better
everything you
points.
guys-
That's it. We'll start with the commission appeals.
I agree.
This guy
That's
thinks
it.
yelling louder
That's
is a
it.
better point.
That's it.
Yelling louder is
That's
a
it.
better point, apparently.
Hey, Chris,
My
Chris,
first appeal is right. That's it.
See?
There's no way. My first appeal. My first appeal is already written. Okay. My
Don't let him
commission-
rub
This
off
guy
on you, Chris.
complained
Listen.
his way into 2 wins his last 2 shows.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I'm going to go a different route.
Listen,
Just because we
in all
agree,
seriousness,
we
though.
agree doesn't mean I can't win the round. Okay, 2 boxers,
Let-
2
let's-
brawlers can
let's-
fight
let's
each other.
say this.
It doesn't mean they have to be even rounds
I
because
made
they
the
fight
first
the same style.
point. You just followed my point. That's
No,
exactly.
We all
I
agree.
made a better point.
Louder isn't
We
better.
all agreed, guys, that it's not a great debut. I mean, I think they could have done better, and they
I
didn't.
even mentioned
But we'll see.
Gervonta versus Frank Martin should have been the headliner, the first headliner. I mentioned it.
Now this guy's
That
putting
was the point that won me the round.
He's got his matchmaker hat on now. This guy's making up dream fights.
All right, listen, we got an
In a
even
month.
fight after 1. Paulie, you're going to start round 2. So round 2, one of the fights on there, it is a title fight. Rolly Romero is defending his 140-pound title against Issac Cruz, who's moving up to 140. Paulie, you're going to start round 2. Who wins that fight? Ring the bell for round 2.
Bro, I can see this one being a fight of the year, honestly. Rolly is hittable, but he can punch himself. Issac Cruz cuts the ring off. He brings it right to you. Pretty solid chin. He also gets hit on the way in, and Rolly can punch himself. I think it's a fight where both guys can go down. I think it's a fight where both guys can hurt each other. I think it's a fight where both guys aren't really going to be able to get away completely defensively. You know, I think Rolly can be a better boxer, but he typically will not be the better boxer in this fight because once you press Rolly enough, you'll start to create mistakes and cause more mistakes. Now, Cruz doesn't have the speed of a Gervonta Davis to take advantage of everything, but the pressure he brings creates more mistakes, more errors on the part of Rolly. And we saw what Barroso started getting to Rolly when he started creating the mistakes and when punching power starts to land. Cruz can punch himself. Rolly can punch himself. I think Cruz's small stature can also create a situation and a dynamic where he's at distance and he can get hit himself on the way in. Once he gets inside, he creates a lot of problems for Rolly, as Rolly has a lot of problems on the inside, as he showed with Barroso. I think it's a great back and forth fight.
Great back and forth fight, but he didn't give a pick. I got Cruz in this fight. I think he's been higher level. He lasts deeper into fights. He puts a ton of pressure. He's got that shorter style stance. He's been able to go underneath those looping wide shots and punch in between Rolly Romero. Rolly Romero's I would agree he's much better than I think he shows, but he's just so wild and he's so I mean, listen, the personality a lot of times you got outside the ring is the way you are inside the ring. And I think he's so wild-minded outside of the ring. It carries over into his style and the way that he fights. He gets ahead of his skis, so to speak. And I think there'll be opportunities for Cruz, especially later on, to build and break down Rolly as we go in the fight. I just think he's been there before. He's got more experience. He's durable. He's more durable. And I think he's got that dogged mentality. His name is Pitbull for a reason. He comes forward. Once he gets those jaws on you, he's going to lock in. I see him locking in on Romero and taking him deep into deep waters and drowning him. This isn't deep waters, but that's what I'm picturing from Pitbull.
What is this? Just because your name is Pitbull, you're going to close jaws and everything else? Where's the breakdown? There's no way. No, Rolly's going to win this fight. Rolly has a dog in him as well. He fights. We've seen him even before. Listen, everybody remembers the Gervonta Davis fight where he was winning and then he got knocked out, but he had some decent wins before that as well. Yes, he's hot and cold, but this is a guy who presses you, but he comes in the front door in Pitbull Cruz. He can be picked off. He can be hit on the way inside. He's going to land his own shots, of course, but both guys go back and forth here. I think Rolly's pretty durable regardless of the knockout loss he faced.
Break.
Rolly is a bully. He's only pressing you when he's in control. The Marinas fight, I was there for that fight. The guy didn't win that fight either. And he had a guy in front of him who wasn't afraid of him, who was physically strong enough to push him off, and was able to do him. There's no way he's going to be able to push around Pitbull that way. The kid is strong. He's aggressive. He doesn't have a quit in him either. He's going to come forward. He's got better conditioning. Listen, if it's just going to be a dogfight, which I believe it will be, I got the dog. That's the best fighter around. That's a Pitbull.
Well, Paulie, you went a whole minute without saying...
Cane Corso is the best dog fighter around. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Pitbull.
You have a Cane Corso at home. You should be ashamed of
Listen,
yourself.
that's a 10-9.
Cane Corso's kills humans.
You're in the bag.
Pitbulls kill dogs.
Let me give Malignaggi a warning right now.
Imagine he's got a Cane Corso and he
That's your
just
first warning,
betrayed him.
Malignaggi. That's your first warning. All right, that's a 10-9 Chris Algieri round. Paulie, you went a whole minute without saying who's going to win. I didn't ask you for your breakdown of the fight.
I was building up to it. You got to give me something in the last 30 seconds. What do you mean? I was building up to it. Can I build up to it a little bit? Can I save a little something for the last 30 seconds? What, I got to give you everything? You want me to be a front runner?
Hey, fans at home, he was blue balls in you. He was blue balls in you the whole first minute of the round. Blue balls all day, this guy.
What was I going to do in the last 30 seconds if I'd have shot my low and everything in the first minute? I need to save something for the last 30 seconds. I'm budgeting myself. I was a guy who went the distance. I know how to budget rounds.
Well, Paulie, you can shoot some of your load early too. It's okay. Okay. All right. So right now, Chris Algieri's got a 1-point lead. Chris, you're going to start round 3. Round 3, we love to do these fantasy fights. So round 3, Sugar Ray Leonard in his prime, Bud Crawford in his prime, 147 pounds. Who wins this fight and why? Chris Algieri starts it. Ring the bell for round 3.
Oftentimes when we do these fantasy matchups with the older generation and the newer generation, we always think nostalgically that we're going to be, the older guy's going to, he was this good, he was that good, he's fine. Things are different now. Guys are, their training, their diet, designer drugs. We're not going to talk about that in this fight. But there's different things that are available to fighters now, and they fight differently. Styles have changed. The amount of rounds has changed. A lot of things have changed over the time. So when you compare old and new, a lot of times it's more nostalgia or your favorite fighter versus that. This one, I don't think so, because actually they're close enough. The 80s wasn't that far away, and Sugar Ray had a style that was well beyond his years and his era. He could fight outside of his era, and I think that in that case, I got to go with Sugar Ray Leonard here. I think that his high-level experience in tough fights, where he's able to pull it out of the bag. There's never been a moment where Sugar Ray Leonard was out of his way and just wasn't trying to win and trying to figure it out. I haven't really ever seen that from Bud. Bud was been in control and so dominant. I haven't seen him in with the kind of dance partner that would push him the way that
I'll tell you why Sugar Ray Leonard wins. Sugar Ray Leonard wins because he fought every style, okay? But Tommy Hearns with the tall guy with the big punching power took him out. Fought Wilfred Benitez, the crafty boxer, savvy world champion, took him out. Roberto Duran was a little bit rugged and raw, and well, I wouldn't say raw, but rugged and feisty and had that savvy dirtiness. But you know what? He got around that as well in the rematch. Sugar Ray Leonard, especially the welterweight Sugar Ray Leonard of the early career, the first title reign, I think if you're matching him up against the Bud Crawford of the welterweight division, which, remember, he was undisputed at 140, he's coming up from lightweight, Leonard is the more natural welterweight. He went all the way up to 168 and beat Lalonde, so Leonard is also the bigger guy, so which probably makes him a little stronger. And like I said, more so than anything, he's tested himself against all those styles at a high level. All those guys were possible. They might even be Hall of Famers, all of them. I think. You know, as far as all the different styles against Hall of Fame level talent, and beat them all. He showed he could adjust and he could adapt to all those styles.
Speaking of adjusting and adapting, everyone thinks about Terence Crawford is that because he's able to switch sides. But I think stylistically the matchup, because Leonard was super fast, he had good power, all those things. But also he was technically, fundamentally very, very sound. Those types of guys, when they match up with guys like Crawford, who I'm not going to call him awkward per se, but he does a lot of abnormal things. Those guys are usually beat to the punch by the fundamentals. The fundamentals work from the beginning to the end, to the bottom to the top. And Sugar Ray Leonard had fantastic fundamentals. That's why I think in a matchup with their styles, I lean with Sugar Ray Leonard.
Listen, guys, I'm talking about the first reign of Sugar Ray Leonard. I'm not talking about the one when he came back from eye retina surgery, came back and stopped the stop-start Ray Leonard. I'm not talking about the Ray Leonard.
With fantasies, we're talking about the best.
I'm talking about the main
best
welterweight run of Ray Leonard early on, you know? And I think that welterweight against the welterweight version of Terence Crawford, who didn't get to fight a lot of the biggest names, let's remember. I think Ray Leonard, his experiences against all those kind of oppositions, all those kind of styles that were all Hall of Famers, and defeating them all, and they give him the advantage.
Well, you both agree that Sugar Ray Leonard win this fight. That's a tough one to score. And you know what I usually do when there's a tough round to score. Paul, you brought up great points about who he beat. And you both were great on technically how he would win the fight. I got to go to Paulie 10-9 on that one.
Of course. I mean, I was even wondering what the difficult thing was here. We're talking about, I compared styles to everybody. I compared all the styles he fought.
He name dropped Chris. He dropped some Hall of Fame names about the guys he beat.
He picked up my own point. I said I didn't have a dance partner, and then he took the dance partners. I planted the seed in his mind for the idea. But also, I made the first point.
Then you know what? You got to close the point. You got to make the point when you got to close the point.
When the second guy agrees with the first guy,
I'm the closer. I'm Mariano.
You're making my points for me.
You might set it up, but I close the show. I'm Mariano. Okay,
all right, guys, all right, Mariano.
And I'm Mariano.
Listen, we got one round left.
I closed the points.
We've got one round left. We've got an even fight going into the final round. Okay, I try not to score even rounds, even though that first round was even. So it's all on the line. Is Paulie going to defend his sparring session championship in round 4? We will see. Paulie, you are going to start round 4, and the topic is the most bizarre night in boxing, minus the Tyson Holyfield II fight night. Been a lot of bizarre nights, and we can talk about it after the round. But that is the topic. Paulie, you are starting. It is all on the line. Ring the bell for round 4.
Okay, I'm going to give respect to James LaMotta versus Jimmy Fox, the one that fight that was thrown. That in the movie looks like it's totally obvious and totally wild and wacky, and then he gets caught and he gets suspended. But I'm going to give respect to that one, but I'm going to say Bowe Holyfield II, Fan Man. Bowe Holyfield with the Fan Man was absolutely epic. It was insane. I believe that guy has since passed away because he kept doing this and he wound up on some mountaintop in Alaska and passed away. But nonetheless, the riot that ensued after, as a matter of fact, that reminds me, I'm gonna throw a little alley-oop to my dance partner here, because the guy who ends up coming in the ring and hitting Fan Man in the ring with a walkie-talkie also hits Galata in the ring with a walkie-talkie during the brawl in the Garden in '96. Because remember, it's Bowe's team again. So you guys had a little riot started after the Fan Man situation. In the middle of a world championship fight for the undisputed heavyweight title, the eyes of the world are watching this. This guy just plants himself right in there with a parachute. I think people were scared. Nobody even knows if there's a terrorist attack or not in the moment.
Great, Chris.
that was going to be my pick as well, but I can't go that way. So we're going to mix it up. We're going to go out of the box a little bit. Francis Ngannou and Tyson Fury. If you are not thinking you were in Bizarro world when you were watching that matchup in that round when Tyson Fury went down, I don't know what planet you're on. I mean, listen, you got a guy who everyone is saying, us included, is not going to be able to compete with Tyson Fury at all. Tyson Fury, granted, he's been out of the ring. He's the undefeated, has been undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. We got a guy who's never boxed a day in his life. He is a UFC champion. He's been out of the cage and ring for 2.5 years. Comes in, fights Tyson Fury, the reigning heavyweight champion, and then drops the guy with a hook. And arguably, a lot of people thought he won. I literally was watching this like, this is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. I feel like I'm on another planet watching what's going to happen. I never would have expected that to happen. Everybody was saying, oh, there's a puncher's chance. We always say that. It's not really true, usually. That one was bizarre.
Great.
You know why it's the most bizarre thing? Because you were too young for Fan Man, okay? That's why. Because what's more bizarre? The guy who's supposed to not win, getting a knockdown or maybe coming close to winning, which is bizarre, but it happens. Or a random parachutist in the biggest fight of the year just winding up inside the ring on an outdoor arena in Caesar's Palace and just plops himself right in the ring while two guys are going at it in a war. In a much anticipated rematch, no less. What's more bizarre? You guys at home, get my back on this one. Bowe Holyfield II.
Break.
Listen, I agreed with you. I just can't take the same point. So I gotta make something different.
You could have picked the low blow fight. You could have picked Bowe and Galata. I even alley-ooped it to you.
I don't know if that's, I don't know. I think it's more bizarre watching a UFC fighter who's never boxed before step in there and outbox the heavyweight champion of the world at times. So, yeah, I'm sticking with that. I mean, that had so many people in shock. I just wish more people were watching it. But, I mean, even to this day, we're going to look back and be like, remember that time when that UFC champ came and dropped the heavyweight champ of the world?
Well, we got a little history in that fourth round. Paulie, you dropped Chris Algieri twice in that round. That's a 10-7 round.
This is what happens when you get the alley-oop and he bricked it. He missed the slam.
Oh, the Galata one wasn't a one either way. I had to go hard as the last round.
The
Galata fight, the Galata low blows was not going to beat the Fan Man. The Fan Man is the craziest.
Galata low blows is going to be Fan Man. Lou Doom has a heart attack ringside. People start beating the crap out of each other in the crowd.
George,
I mean, it was mayhem.
Would that have beat the Fan Man? I had to go swing.
I almost went with that one.
It would not have beaten that, but it wouldn't have been a 10-7 round. You could have picked Oliver
McCall
crying in the ring.
I tried to get you with something
Oliver
off the
McCall
wall you
crying in
weren't
the
thinking
ring.
about.
That's right. Gee, you know what? That's a good one too.
There was that too.
Which one?
Oliver McCall crying in the ring.
Oliver McCall, when he was crying in the ring.
That's actually a really good one. Shit, I didn't think about that.
You can't. You know, everybody's always conditioned to think bite fight when it's the craziest thing. But once you say everything but bite fight, you stop thinking about that.
George, I thought you were going to say except for the Fan Man fight, because I think that's the craziest fucking thing that could ever happen.
Bite fight is the craziest thing.
But listen, guys bite guys. Guys bite guys. Tyson's bit people before.
But again and again.
Tyson bit a bunch of people.
Yeah, but again and again, and then he denies it, and Mills Lane's got to tell him, bullshit, you bit him. You know what I mean? Like, that was crazy.
That was cool, but a fan,
literally
a fan flying in on a fan flying in
No,
on a fan,
but
hitting the
Tyson
center
like
of the
a
ring in the
pit-
middle of the
no.
fight.
Tyson-
Both guys have to
Chris
stand.
Algieri.
They have to stand for 15 minutes away from each other, cover up with towels so they don't cool down.
Tyson was like a
insane.
pit bull.
You're watching a
Chris,
pit
I have a
bull,
question.
and
even security didn't want to stop
Somebody
Tyson.
ring
If
the
you look
bell.
at that,
Chris.
not even security wanted
Chris.
to get near Tyson. He was like a rabid dog. Security came in the ring and they were all trying to stay away from him. It's the funniest thing
Chris
ever.
Algieri.
Think about it. If you look at that footage, Tyson is like a rabid dog. Not even security wants to go near him to stop him.
Chris, I'm assuming I can still keep the book, right? And everything that came with it.
It makes a great piggy bank, obviously, so keep using that in there.
Okay, because I really, I thought you were going to come out and take that one, but man, you know why I did that fourth round too? Because we just had an anniversary. It's 15 years since the Margarito Mosley, the whole glove scandal in the locker room. I was working that fight for HBO. I was working that fight, and I remember Larry Merchant, somehow he talked to someone in the locker room, and he broke it on air that Margarito had something in his wraps. So that was just a bizarre night. Margarito was a big favorite, and then Mosley went out and beat the crap out of him in that fight. That was a weird night, but Paulie, you're the champ, man. You've defended your title twice this year. You're 3-1 in 2024.
That's right.
Despite all your complaints.
That's right.
So, I don't know, Paulie. Now, early on, I think you were registering a complaint. Are we good?
No complaints here, ref. All good.
Okay.
All good.
All right, listen, make sure you subscribe to the ProBox TV YouTube channel. We are so close to 100,000 subscribers. I'm hearing there may be some prizes. We're going to get to 250 soon, 500,000. Soon it's going to be 1 million. There's going to be some good prizes when we get to 1 million subscribers. Make sure you subscribe. YouTube now. ProBox TV is your boxing channel.